So, Jenny, thank you very much for talking to me and the people at the University of Waterloo. Many of them are going to be going into roles in the future that will have a direct influence on what we're going to talk about.
Yes.
They'll be
Yes.
involved with the technology and around policy on technology too. So I thought we'd get started. You lead Unplugged Canada, and it is an important organization as far as the impact of social media on young people is concerned. You've talked about your own love-hate relationship with your phone and how that made you realize that it was difficult for people to manage them. So I thought I would start just by asking what made you realize that it was unfair to expect a child's developing brain to handle a phone?
Mhm. Yeah, well, we all can recognize that technology has evolved, right? And sometimes when I discuss this topic, people refer to 10 plus years ago when they had phones and it was not a problem and they are fine and all that. But technology evolves at such a pace that nobody can keep up with it. And 10 plus years ago, I had a Facebook account, like many at that time, and it was fine. There were no likes. You just posted, and I could connect with with my friends and family in Peru. And I think the intentions to connect were there. But then when likes were introduced, when these platforms with followers were introduced, they went to another dimension of keeping us hooked there, right? And so it's evident that these platforms are designed to be addictive. And over the years, because I've been passionate about this for more than a decade, even before I became a mom, the my understanding of how the brain works it became evident to me that they were using neuroscientists and experts to get us addicted to it. So I don't have a problem saying that because we all can recognize that there is a compulsive use of these platforms, and it's because, like I said, now I need to be very intentional about the use of my phone. Like if I am on Instagram, and sometimes it can be, distracting. I can laugh at it a little bit, and it can distract me and can be entertaining. But then the content that I'm presented, it keeps me hooked because and then it can be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I was on my phone. And, the time that I spend there is something that I could have used for other purposes, like to be with my family, to engage in other conversations, more important. And so I need to say at some point enough. So the the use, as long as I keep it clear that it's a tool, that's great. But then our when we become actually we have a relationship with our phones, then we disconnect from reality, we disconnect from our loved ones, and that knowing that at my age I need to be so intentional about the use of this, well, then how can we leave our kids to deal with that? I mean, it's unfair. It's unfair because they don't stand a chance against this. And it's not that the kids are wrong, it's not that the parents are wrong. It's just that these devices are designed to be addictive and they know how our brains operate. So they give us the content that will catch our attention over and over, and they play with our emotions because we are in the sick of likes or followers, and then the comparison, and then look at others. So we disconnect from ourselves as well, right? So yeah, that is what I would say is I know this tech is part of our lives, and but as long as we keep them in their place, is good. When they take over, that's when we need to take a firm stand, right? Hmm.
And you've gone further, I guess, and expressed concern about the impact that phones are having on mental health. So there's the issue of addiction and the time that people use it for. but there is also its further impact on mental health.
Well, it goes beyond mental health because it goes beyond. It's a society problem now. It goes beyond our homes and the conflict that it creates at home. It also has extended to our schools, right? And then we can see it everywhere we go. It's it is changing the way we interact with each other, and we know that it's not right. We can see that, right? The I have taken further steps because, as you know, when you know something or we understand something, when you have that knowledge, you cannot keep it just for yourself. You have this duty of sharing and taking action, right? So um, it's not only the social aspect, the human aspect, it's also the economic impact because we know that the time that we are on these devices should have been, sometimes, 1 in 3 girls spend 5+ hours, teenagers, girls, 5+ hours on their phones a day. So that is like a full-time job. And if you consider the amount of hours that we spend on these phones, it's also equivalent of months that we waste a year in our lives that we could use to, pursue hobbies, to spend time with our loved ones, or to get jobs or get further, like instead of, just being hooked there. So I have also, I'm not an academic, I don't have the data as well processed, but I've been aware for so long that I've been watching and observing. And I think if we dig further, we can we will be also able to prove that it has impact on productivity and, the use of mental health days, the use of sick days, the attention span in our kids in schools, universities, that transcends to jobs as well, right? And then as it's known, if that brain finds this dopamine so quickly and so easily on these devices and platforms, then we lack interest or we lose interest on other things that are simpler, other things that are part of life. And we know that life is not full of dopamine and highs, right? So we, our kids, our youth, then are not prepared to give up on that dopamine that easily, and then they get disappointed when they cannot find that dopamine in real life, in the day to day. So that has an impact, like I said, in work, productivity, and beyond.
Okay, as I understand it, you've said that age 14 would be the limit as far as smartphones are concerned, and 16 for social media. Uh, could you talk a little bit
Mm,
more about why those ages? And
yeah,
okay,
yeah. So I didn't come up with those ages, though we follow Jonathan Haidt, who, as you know, he's um, the leading voice in the world about this topic, and he's a very well-known sociologist, and he talks about 4 norms, right? No smartphones until at least 14, no social media until at least 16, um, you know, no phones in school, smartphone-free schools, and also more play. And it all connects, right? And um, well, in the journey with Unplugged Canada and the many psychologists, psychiatrists, educators, child experts, and academics and scientists behind Unplugged Canada, because it's a whole community, even the age is has been questioned. It should be higher, right? Because if we think about it, if tech set up this years ago at 13, it's probably way higher than 13, right?
yeah.
And as evidence and data and real work cases and exposure, the front end, like, doctors, psychiatrists, pediatricians, they see this, they agree that the more we delay, the better. And smartphones is this thing that we can carry in our pockets everywhere, right? Even to the bathroom. Some people take their bathroom to the bathroom, right? So it's so easy. It's like an extension of our arm. That's why Unplugged kind of went after the smartphone, because we can talk about devices in general and screens, but probably the most dangerous device is the smartphone, because we can carry it anywhere, and it becomes an extension, like I said, of our arm, and that makes us more dependent and on it. And then with the smartphone, that is the bridge to social media, right? And why 16 for social media? Because we know puberty, we need to protect puberty. During puberty, our kids' brains are growing, their emotions are, changing and growing at such a pace. They are so vulnerable. So we need to protect those years so they are ready when they connect to these platforms for all this content, so they can discern what is real, what is not, and they can also maybe work more on their self-identity before being exposed to comparisons and all those things that are in these platforms. So we believe in prevention, and by delaying the exposure to social media until past puberty, then we hope and we trust that our kids will be more prepared to deal with what is coming with it. Yeah.
Okay, that's clear. And in support of this, you've developed the Unplugged pledge.
Yes.
Could you tell me about that? What is it?
Oh, the Unplugged pledge. So it was inspired about a movement called Wait Until Eighth, and uh, when years ago, before Jonathan Haidt's book was released in 2024, before the other movements like Smartphone Free Childhood became very active in 2024, and the Australia also and all that. Before all that, like my own research and all that I learned about how the brain works made me feel very lonely in the process of what do I do? This goes beyond my house, like how I'm watching this happening, and I was hoping that over time more people would notice what I'm noticing, and then they would do something about it, and then things would change. But the opposite happened. These devices were gaining more traction not only in our homes because they were sold without any regulation, like selling like a stuff, like a ball. Anybody could just go and buy this phone. Then I saw that how it got traction in schools, like anybody could bring smartphones to school. Like I couldn't believe that. Like when I learned that you could just have it on your desk and you could be 9 years old, I would be like, what is going on? And then, so the traction that these devices and tech in general were getting everywhere, like in our pockets, in our bedrooms, in our homes, in our schools, everywhere. I was like, well, what are we doing, or why are we letting this happen? But having difficult conversations at that time were not easy because there was no much data, or maybe the data was contained because there were a lot of documentaries, but people wouldn't talk about that. So there was a moment that I self-doubted. I was like, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm not seeing what others are seeing. But then I was so convinced that no, this is wrong. That then I was like, okay, there must be somebody else. There, the things like that, and it was hit or miss. People didn't want it. It's big tech, right? It's just a new way, or it's too late. We're defeated. It's just accepted. But then I found that there were other parents in other countries talking about it, and then they talk about this pledge, and I was like, oh, I want to sign. I want to feel that I can do something, not just talking about it. And I wanted to sign, but I couldn't because it was not in Canada. And then I said, okay, can we bring this to Canada? And they said, no, it's a lot of work. The school system is different. And the board there said, no, we are very busy already here. So then I was like, well, if I don't do it, nobody else is doing it. And then I said, okay, can you guide me a little bit? You have this expertise. Can you teach me a little bit? I will do it in Canada. And that's when hiring a PR expert for the branding, and then a developer to build a pledge. And it was completely out of my comfort zone, but I the way I felt when I found that others were talking about it and they align with what I was seeing, empowered me to take a further step. And then I realized, okay, if that make me feel that way and empower me, I want to do the same with others that I'm sure are in Canada. And that and that happened because when Unplugged was known, then people would talk about it at least, and then people would send emails and they would sign the pledge, and then they would know they are not alone. And then, same as some things can be contagious, not for the right reasons, also this becomes contagious, right? And then more people are signing the pledge. And even if they don't sign the pledge, more people are talking about it. And then we are questioning if we need to change the norm. And actually, we agree that we need to change the norm and we can change the norm. And that is going from like, can we do this? Undoubted to like, no, we can do it. And we are going to do it. And the fact, and knowing that, understanding and accepting we cannot do this alone. So that, and it was something very clear, like doing this alone is pretty much impossible because this is such a big problem. This is a social problem. It's a collective problem that requires a collective solution and requires everybody to step up, not only parents, but also schools, but also government, policymakers, and organizations in general, right? So I don't know what you want to know about Unplugged, but Unplugged is a grassroots volunteer parent-led movement. We are all volunteers. We are self-funded and we have presence in over 1,000 schools, and I'm very proud to say that we have chapters as far as PI to Nanaimo in the West and the Northwestern Territories as well. So coast to coast to coast. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a big success, and obviously your organizing has been extremely effective. But I was intrigued by the pledge because its emphasis is on getting people to collaborate in their own school, and again, it seems to have worked.
Yes, because when reflecting so much about it years ago, why these devices got so much traction so quickly. And then, I come from Peru, from a third world country, where literally it takes a village to even raise a kid. So as I learned more about this problem, it was clear that this got more traction in developed countries in the north. And it's because we have lost over time the sense of community. We have become too individualistic. Even when I was in my country, it was a sense that for anything you needed to do it as a collective. Like, okay, raising a kid, you would have the aunties, the uncles, the grandparents, the neighbors, and it was fine. I mean, it was not that you were weak. It was just a fact. We need a village. And then you come to Canada where is more, I can do this by myself, right? Like I can raise my kid, I can do this, and it can be empowering, but at the same time, then I don't know how to say it in the right way. English is not my first language, but I don't have a problem saying I need help. I cannot do this alone. I know, and I wish more people felt that way as well, and reaching out to each other, saying, parenting is not easy at all. Parenting where now both mom and dad need to work in most cases, and with everything that's going on, we should help each other more, right? We should reach out to our neighbors and to our relatives and everybody, and say, we help each other. One day I can do this, the other you can do that. And so that's where the pledge also is powerful, because it helps building community in the school. So knowing that I'm not the only one saying no, I'm not the only one saying that I'm gonna delay, and because we don't want our kids to be isolated either, right? So by knowing that there is a cohort of parents, like-minded parents that are intentional about this and they want to delay together, then it deals with the biggest thing with the smartphones, which was, Mom, Dad, you need to give me a smartphone now because everybody has one. And I don't want to be disconnected. I don't want to be isolated, Mom and Dad. And then obviously, we parents don't want our kids to be isolated, right? And then we are like, okay, I need to give this. And that now the pledge empowers us because it was very easy. It has been easier with my daughter because I say, well, there have been all this number of parents that we are delaying together year over year, renewing the pledge together. So I said it once, and that was it. And she knows, and other parents know. And so there is this underlying understanding that we're in this together, and also like a trust, and also a willingness to help each other, right? Like play dates, being intentional about play dates, because we want to keep our kids also entertained, playing outside and everything. So it's not as simple as saying, okay, we are going to delay. It's like, why? Why are we doing this? And then also I have explained that to my daughter multiple times, in the sense, like, as more information I receive, it's like, this is happening with your brain. Let's protect your brain. And then kids are smart. So it's like, okay, there is a valid point there. And then they also can see how they can connect more with simple things, when sometimes it's like, hello, you are, their friends are on the phone. It's like, I want to talk to you. Leave your phone. So anyway, I think it's been great to build community in schools, and also we have seen that across Canada, and more. It's, I would say, that is the most beautiful part of this journey, has been how parents, moms and dads, have just stepped up, found time out of their busy lives to spread the word, to champion their schools, to champion in their churches, in their communities, talk about it, do school books, do playground, unplugged playground dates, and escalate, and also now doing even advocacy with the government, because we also need that framework, the legislation part, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating that Peruvian culture has influenced your organizing model and influenced the creation of a successful organizing model in Canada. I mean, in some ways, that seems a Canadian thing. Our diversity has contributed to something, that is valuable about Canadian life, and that's a fascinating thing. The You have also talked about dumb phones, perhaps being an alternative to smartphones. How should, I guess, parents think about those in terms of, introducing them or using this as an alternative with their children?
Yeah, because Unplugged Canada is not anti-tech at all. It's just more about tech at the right time. So we understand that many of us need to coordinate and be in touch with our children for activities and different things, and but we don't need to give them a full computer to them. So that's the flip phones are coming back, and actually we're in conversations with mm, companies to market them, because they exist, they still exist. So more and more adults and kids are getting flip phones. And what we believe is, some things, things are coming back. Some of the old things can come back and they get traction. So I think we are coming to realize that we want our lives back. We want childhood to kids to be kids longer, and giving them a flip phone is perfect just for phone calls and texts. Which is what we need to coordinate. And it's we also look at alternatives of why the smartphones are so attractive, right? The smartphones, some kids want it for music, some kids wanting to take photos. So we need to ask these questions to our children as well. Why do you want a smartphone? Oh, it's because I want to take photos. Okay, maybe we can get them a camera instead. So, right? And oh, why do you want a smartphone? Or because I want to play music, and then you can get them an MP3 instead. So then we use tech, but as tools, and then we give more time for their brains to develop and for their identities to build, right? Like without more interference. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, I think it
Hmm.
does. It's
Hmm.
That's pretty clear. I think it's important that you're distinguishing and saying you're not
No,
anti-technology. You understand the importance of
of
communication,
course, of course.
but a smartphone is not always the only way to do this. Uh, as far as the behavior of parents is concerned, so I look and I go into someone's house and I see children and parents, and I see the parents on their phones,
Yes,
and it's always struck me that the behavior of the parents has an influence in many other areas over children. So in their use of a device, presumably there's an influence there too.
of course.
So, how do you feel about that? What would you say to parents about that? And
Well, I think we parents know that we lead by example, right? And we cannot expect our kids to do better or different than us if we don't if we cannot preach and say, "Oh, I don't want you to be on your phone. I don't want to give you a phone," and then we're going to be on our phones in front of them. So there are different ways to deal with that because smartphones are a tool for parents, especially we need to be on our phones because our emails are there or because we need to coordinate things. So I think we need to be intentional about explaining that to our children. We are not using our phones to scroll, but why are we using the phone? And if we are using it to scroll, when we need to look at ourselves, right? And say, do we? So there are little tips about that. So obviously, no smartphones on tables. We need to use every opportunity to have conversations, and then no smartphones in bedrooms. That's another one. And the smartphones, we as parents intentionally using them for a purpose, not just for doom scrolling. And then if our kids watch us and see us using the phone, which happens also to me because I have all my emails there, and sometimes I need to coordinate with dad or with play this. I say, I'm coordinating your play date. I'm coordinating this with grandpa. I'm answering to my team at work and all that. So I'm purposely elaborate on why I'm on the phone because it's a task that I need to complete. So in my personal situation, in my family, my daughter understands that I'm using it as a tool. So I'm as we know is they say kids basically repeat what you're doing, right? So it's I think we need to look at ourselves as well, and maybe it's a time to take a little bit of to look at how many hours we are on our phones, and then be more intentional about it. And it's doable. I think it's very doable. Yeah.
what about the role of schools? So, schools have used technology in various ways, and you're uh, perhaps wanting to influence what the schools say to children about technology and how they allow technology to be used in schools. So, what is your relationship with the schools? What do you think they should be doing?
Yeah. So as I said before, I think we all need to do our part for to change the norm. And with such an issue that we're facing, it's it would be naive to think that parents can do this alone or that the government can do this alone without the buy-in of everybody in society. And same with the schools. Um, schools. So I have encountered challenges in the public school system. Unfortunately, it moves slowly, very slowly, like government. And technology has gained a lot of traction, more than what it should have happened, in my opinion. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about like Jenny Perez rather than Unplugged, because Unplugged Canada's mission is about smartphone use specifically and social media delay and protection of our kids' data. But as Jenny Perez, as a mom, I can say that I cannot understand why a 5-year-old needs to be given an iPad. I cannot understand yet. Somebody needs to explain this to me in a way. I cannot understand it yet. Why a 9-year-old, why my daughter is expected to bring a Chromebook, a laptop in fourth grade every day. Like, I don't understand that. And um, we, what I've tried to piece together is that technology is associated with innovation. I can understand that sentence, um, but it has been oversold without scientific evidence that is really beneficial. So, in my journey as a mom, since my daughter went to school when she was 5 years old, it was interesting because I would be told, this is just the way it is. This is just a new way. And I'm like, well, that doesn't answer that doesn't address my concern. Do you want your kid to be isolated? Everybody's using it. I'm like, why is it this put on me? And I was like, this shouldn't be like this. I mean, but I said, well, if my kid is going to be isolated for the right reasons, then so be it. And then I had to, my kid was the only one in her class and in the school that wouldn't be given and even though that time was not long, it was like an hour or 2 hours a week. It was just how easy it was. So you deal with it at home, and then they give you at school as a tool to enhance your learning. And then when you question it, they put it on me to prove that what I'm asking is fair. It's like, oh, why are you questioning it? And then over time, I'm like, this is gaslighting. So you are putting it on me, and you are bringing this to schools without evidence that is beneficial for our children. So what does that say to me? That is an experiment. So you're experimenting with my kid. You're experimenting with our kids. So who said that it was good for children? Who said that iPads were good in kindergarten? Probably tech said that.
Mhm.
The ones that make it. And how technology got so ingrained into the public school system, because they got their way. And then the sad thing is, there has been so much investment, so much money has been invested in technology, and there are so many partnerships that is very hard to undo that quickly. And obviously, there's an uphill battle because we're talking about the most powerful industry in the world. So I would like to encourage parents to question the system, because there is no evidence that this is actually beneficial to our children. So when they ask for evidence from us to prove that our asks need evidence, why are we being gaslighted? And then why don't we challenge the public administrators to show us the evidence that proves that our kids are going to be better by introducing iPads at such a young age, about laptops in fourth grade, and AI, like AI. And it's like, why are we just being manipulated by tech, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and that goes to another conversation. But this is my opinion as Jenny Perez. I'm not talking on behalf of Unplugged Canada there, because it's been a personal journey of mine. And over time, I learned that when we feel in our guts that this is off, this is not right, we need to speak up. Because as I've been bringing these conversations, and more parents are saying, yeah, I don't understand why I send my kid to school so they can be with other kids and socialize and learn from each other and interact. Why? I mean, it's enough. I have to keep my kid off devices at home, and it's not easy. It's not easy. And then you send them to school, and then they give them devices too, or they allow devices. So, and let's not fool each other either. It's also unfair for a teacher to, supervise one person, 30, 31 kids in a class where they are now in laptops again, and then they access, nobody, I mean, we can maybe check one or two, three kids know that we are doing supervised, and it's not easy, let's face it. And it's like, how can we put this on teachers to do that with 30 or 31 kids? It's like, that's, so the teacher will not be able to do it. And kids will be tempted to be connected because their brains are, how can we say, I mean, if we had our phones in school, we probably would be also tempted. So how can we expect that from our little ones? How do we expect that from one teacher to oversee 30, 31 kids? So anyway, maybe we need to rethink this, right? And that's where the youth, the new leaders, they are the ones that can help set the new norms, right? And that's why we're having this conversation.
Okay. And the just have two more questions. The first
Yes.
one is legislation or regulation from government, either provincial or federal or presumably potentially municipal. Do you have views on what that should be?
Yeah, the federal government needs to have the social media age minimum in place. It cannot be 14 for the reasons that I just explained. It has to be at least 16, same as we all agree that we need some time before we give our kids the keys to drive, a car, and then we need education and time for kids to be on the highway driving. It's the same thing with smartphones or social media, I would say, in this case. So it's needed. It's a framework that is needed, and it will help parents parenting. It's not replacing of parenting. Is not at all, because some people can question that, why the government needs to do that, because it's being done with many other aspects, and this is a public health crisis. So the government needs to step up. Can you imagine the conversations would be much easier at home if we are like, okay, you cannot have social media because the law says that you are not 16, so you cannot create an account, period, end of conversation. And the same that we, even if our 9-year-old comes and says, I want to start drinking alcohol with your supervision, because that's what they put on us, right? Oh yeah, parents need to take care and supervise their kids. They need to do it with parental control. They need to do it, like, seriously? So I am a very engaged parent, and I am recognizing that I cannot do it, that these devices are designed in a way that I don't stand a chance, and my kid either. So why we have let this happen without regulation and giving it free access to children that we know is tech, right? And that social media age is not the only solution, but it will help us, give us that framework to do better parenting, and along with other measures that are necessary to improve these platforms, especially their addictive design. And we can go on about it, but we know this is a problem that needs a layer approach. So it's not just a social media age, but we as parents need that, same as we need an age for smoking, an age for driving, an age for alcohol. It's very simple. It's not that difficult. It's not debatable. So we don't need to make it debatable. And then at the provincial level, the ministers of education and the schools, for sure, we need a provincial government to have, and I know they have done a good job so far with introducing and recognizing the problem of having smartphones in schools, but the implementation has to be consistent. It has to be more, I would say, consistent in all the school districts and schools and independent schools, because you have no idea. Like, it's when I talk with different players at the provincial level, they say, no, it's upon the school district, or it's upon the principal in that school district. I say, well, how can we make this enforceable if there is no clarity and consistency? That any rule needs to be enforceable and needs to be clear and consistent. So there should be not only consistency in each province, because each province has their different ways to put these smartphone-free rules. We should more align and work together and support each other and learn from each other. But anyway, I think that smartphone-free schools, at least we're moving a step forward, but it's very far from being properly implemented, and I could go on and on about it because I have exposure to different schools, and I know that one school, depending on the leader, can be very strict, and leadership is so important. That's why the leader sets the pace. So when a school has a leader that is willing to take a firm stand, the leader makes things happen. And then that goes to the teachers, and then the teachers are in power, right? Because the teachers are in between. The teachers are watching this, and the teachers are many educators behind Unplugged, but they are employed by the school district, right, or the public school system. So they are trapped. It's like, okay, you are telling me to do this, but I'm seeing in class that this is not working. But unless parents speak up, unless there is a consistent message, then I can be empowered also to. It's confusing, and I feel for many educators and anyway, that just goes back to parents to speak up, and then leaders to be more consistent in implementation and enforcement. Yes.
Thank you. Very clear. My final question is around the guidance that you might give to the people who are watching this. So the people watching this will mostly be students at university. What would you say to them about smartphone use, either in how they might guide their children when they have them, or that they might listen to now in their own behavior today?
Yeah. So in this journey at Unplugged, even though we're parents, we have also worked closely with youth, and we have heard testimonies like, I wish I hadn't been never given a smartphone. I wish social media didn't exist. Like, I wish my parents had been tougher on this, and they wouldn't have been. So we have heard so many things, and they want change. They don't want their little sisters or brothers to be exposed to what they were exposed to. They don't want the comparison. They even say, I wish social media didn't exist, because then I wouldn't need to be on these platforms. I need to be there because everybody's there and my friends are there, so I have no choice. I wish I could use this time to actually do other things that would make me feel more productive and better. And so we have heard them, and many have stepped up, and they are using their voices to make change at the federal government level and at provincial level. So they are, I mean, that's the whole point of, I think, this conversation is, we cannot underestimate the power of our voice. I mean, I'm an immigrant, I'm a mom, and at some point, sometimes you question yourself, you self-doubt, but you shouldn't. When we see something wrong, when we see something that is off, we should just say it, and we should talk about it, even if conversations are difficult. Those conversations are needed to move forward, in a respectful way, of course. But I think there's also about not having difficult conversations. It's like a thing. It's like, no, we need them. We need them. That's why the world can be like this sometimes, right? And I know there are some conversations about the access to information and how we want to be in these platforms sometimes for information, but we also all know that we don't want to be manipulated, right? So if you stop to think who are behind these platforms, Meta, Elon Musk, who do we want to just listen to, or to just focus on that content? Are we free when we are manipulated, right? And we have power. I mean, we need the youth, the new generation, the new leaders to help us with setting norms that benefit society and do not only benefit the pockets of some corporations. And that is where I have had a couple of conversations recently that when I challenge why isn't tech making enough money? Isn't it enough already? Why do they want more? What is the limit for shareholder profits? What is the limit? Who says what is the limit? So we have the capacity to say what is the limit, and then what is the cost? What is the social cost of this greedy, objectives that are set? So, and I remember I challenged a tech leader recently, and I said, what is the limit? I mean, you are going after our children. Why? I mean, isn't it enough just to have us adults there? Oh, we have information that they go after our kids because the younger they are, the better clients, customers they become, because the younger they are, the more hooked they are. It's like when you start smoking at 13, it's harder to give up later. So it's the same logic. So why do you go after our children? And you know, the answer was, well, in every sector there are casualties, and I couldn't believe that. So look at mining, and I was like, wow. And I can tell you're not a parent, and I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I mean, if you think that is okay to just continue building profit at the expense of our children, like, I mean, I don't need to talk to you about the what happened just with OpenAI and the shooting, right? So why do we need to be reactive? This shouldn't have happened. That should have been flagged. Why they made that decision? Why are we focused so much on our profit, on our branding, and not thinking about others? So the word is not moving forward. And sometimes you feel, wow, we're going backwards, right? Why? Because we're not taking into consideration the social cost of the decisions we make just for profit. So I think as more students and leaders, it shouldn't be. And there was another comment, Jenny. I know you care about the social, but that's for nonprofits. I was also no, that's no. So if we understand that every decision we make that has an impact on others and can have a negative impact on others, we simply shouldn't do them, regardless of the profit. Period. And we shouldn't, and the world would be different if we leaders thought that way. And yeah, and I trust that the new generation of leaders are gonna watch and are gonna observe what is going on. And the one thing as coming from a third world country is democracies, fairness, rights, protection. They come from the fair access to information. So we need to assess and watch where we get that information from nowadays and why we are so polarized now, right? And then recognize that the more polarized we are, the more vulnerable we are. And recognize that if we need change, if we want change, if we want things to happen faster, we need to join forces and work together. It's not an agenda of one person. It's a community. So I think those are lessons that I've learned in my journey with Unplugged, and I hope that a few years from now we can talk about how many communities are joining, and then how communities are back, and how tech is there for the right reasons as a tool, and how we connect as humans more, and then question the power of innovation, AI. Is it really towards the benefit and progress of humanity? Is it? Yeah, let's make it that way. And if there's doubt about it, then let's pause. Let's not move with let's pause because the cost is too high. Right? Anyway, so that's what I think I would say to my younger me if I was there. Yeah.
It's a good way to think about it, to your younger me.
Hmm.
Uh, Thank you for answering all my questions, Jenny. Your answers, I think, have been ones that will cause the people watching this to think. about the impact that technology is having on young people, and about how we should approach this as a society in the future. So, that I think is a very valuable thing to encourage people to do, and hopefully it will make the world a better place. Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Peter, for the opportunity. Take care. Bye.